Welcome in everybody to the Box Score Network. I am Ben Parker and that's Simon Shortt. We are full on draft season and we've been doing this year round. We did, and it's fine. Some people do just start after the NFL season is over because they're busy on other things. We've been doing this year round, so we had quite a head start and we've continued to add to it. It is time for Simon's big board. Simon, how you doing tonight? And are you excited to jump into it?
I'm doing good, Ben. I'm nervous. The big boards, I think, have been the most anxiety-provoking exercise that we've done in the time that we've started potting together, and it's the one that when it comes up on the calendar as like in the next month, I start frantically rewatching and watching more film than I even already had been. But once I put the names down and stop kind of tinkering with them, I feel really good and always excited to talk to you about it. So happy to be here.
Those of you who may have just seen the distraction, I have a beautiful child who's running through my green
Well,
screen.
luckily your background. It was just like a couple arms every once in a
Yeah,
while.
a couple of arms and all right, let's get to it. Here's Simon's top eight. I'm going to ask about one player. He'll talk about anybody else that he wants to. For me, it's Monroe Freeling, tackle from Georgia, number five overall. So tell us about Monroe Freeling. Why you have him so high? Obviously, a lot of people are high on him, but I think you are probably top of the mountain here.
Yeah, literally, right? You know, 6'7", didn't mean to do that, and 34-inch arms. I mean, Freeling, my God, man, as soon as I put it on, as soon as I put the tape on, the thing that gets me with offensive tackles is it's funny, it's not a niche thing, right? It's like big man move fast, real exciting, right? And it shouldn't be that simple for me. But when you marry the size with the athleticism and then the technique and all just the benchmarks I look for in an offensive lineman, like he's it and you see it right away. Like it's a can't miss kind of thing. Like the guys that I have felt this way about, which is a weird thing to say, but the guys that I've felt this way about where I turn on the tape and watch 5 plays and was like, I'm gonna love this guy, have been like Joe Alt, Troy Fautanu, um, Darno Wright a little bit, but for different reasons than those guys. And then Monroe Freeling, and I mean who were our offensive linemen last year? I can't even. Uh, uh, oh, Banks and Campbell. Oh, Connerly, right? Connerly was this for me. If you can marry all these things together and you just do everything so smoothly and effortlessly, right? That's the marker for me. And that's what Freeling is. He is huge, but moves so easily. His feet are never in a hurry, and yet he's moving fast. His hands are always active, but he's never rushing or missing or guessing. He's getting his hands exactly where he wants, and he's got counters with his hands as well. If somebody gets their hands on him, he can reset them easily. He throws a punch, even if it's not exactly where he wants it to be, his other hand is ready to kind of make up for it. And despite being 6'7", 315, he's got a wide target and he's leaner. He is always on balance. And the only time that he's not is when he's trying to really make up for it in short yardage run situations. Because he's like, I'm all the way up here, man. I got to try and get low to get this push. And that's when he's ducking his head and losing his balance, getting his eyes down, and ending up on the ground. I can work with that, man. I can work with that. Hey, you're a little overzealous in short yardage situations. Let's work on that together. But everything else is stuff you just can't teach, and he just moves so naturally that I want this guy 100 times out of 100.
We are not going to cover everybody on this board tonight. So, out of this eight here, pick one guy that you're really wanting to give us something on that either you haven't before or, hey, y'all need to hear this again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to talk about Combine Darling Sonny Styles just one more time. He was at 11 for me. He was a player that just reading his bio, I was in love with. Um, Watching his 2024 tape, loved what I saw, but had questions. Combine's coming up. Everyone's like, he's testing and it's going to be freaky. And I'm getting excited again. So I turn on the film again and viewers at this point know, I'm not watching, college football every single week. So I turn on some 2025 tape, and he's 50% better than he was in 2024. Right. So the film was already telling us he was a better player than we thought. He's gotten better, which is key because he is a second year player at linebacker. But then you also go to the combine and oh, he's like the freakiest athlete we've ever seen. So the runway for him, the tape, the makeup, and the athleticism just scream this guy's going to be an all pro. And you don't let that guy get out of the top five, no matter what the position is. So if you've got a lock in all pro player, um, he's got to be this high for me, if not higher.
Let's move to your next eight here. So this would be basically 9 through 16, essentially. I want to ask you about Mansour Delane again. We've talked about him before, but I want to ask him about versus Jermod McCoy. So McCoy is not actually part of this eight. So feel free to take either direction of that you want. But Mansour Delane, Jermod McCoy.
So Mansour Lane for me has everything you want in a cornerback prospect. The only thing I guess that you would like to see more is ball production, right? Like can he play the ball a little more? Can he be more of a ball hawking threat? And I don't even know what his interception number is, but just when you watch it, like that's not what he's even trying to do. Um, but he's just totally in phase all the time. He has an insane awareness of where everybody is at all times, like as it relates to like ball quarterback man. Like he just always knows exact. He has a feel for everything. And Jermon McCoy wins with size and athleticism. And I just think the Delane type translates better than the NFL and has a higher success rate. Does the McCoy type have a higher ceiling? Maybe. But I've also seen way more of the, and it's funny because their frames aren't even all that different, but McCoy just carries his differently and plays differently. But I've
Yeah.
seen way more of the bigger, more physical corners just struggle at the NFL level because they've gotten by on that so much. And even with McCoy, when he does lose at the line of scrimmage, he makes up for it with that closing speed. Delane has closing speed, but he also, I think, has is much more smooth transitioning and with his technique than McCoy is. And then you factor in everything else on top of that with McCoy, with the injury stuff about agency and when he's testing and when he's not testing, what people are going to see with the medicals and all that other stuff. Um, but Delane to me is just like a don't ask any, you have no questions. You just bring him in and he's going to start a corner and be really good right away.
All right. We've got your eight, 9 through 16 sitting here. There's got to be a guy in here somewhere. I've got two in my brain, but I figure one of them at least is a guy you want to tell us about why he's in this group.
I mean, I'll address the elephant in the room with Jeremiah Love, why he's down here at 16 for me, right? And it's running back value, and I think he's a very good prospect. I think we're getting a little over our skis, where all of a sudden a lot of people are saying he's better than Ashton Genty as a prospect last year because we were talking about Ashton Genty being like one of the best of the best just last season, and Love is very good, and he's got like more more like not soft skills, but like the pass catching, right? The fact that he's a better receiving back than Genty was coming out of college is something that's more enticing these days than it has been, or than it would have been, 5-10 years ago. But I think we're seeing how teams value running back right now, and maybe the lessons learned of taking Genty in the top five last year, because the Chiefs and the Saints spent money on running backs, big money on running backs in free agency. The Cardinals spent a nice little chunk of change on a running back in free agency. And now I know, our esteemed colleague Peyton pointed out to me today, okay, maybe the Chiefs and Saints did that because it's a guarantee that Love doesn't fall out of the top seven. And we'll see. And we'll see. But I think the fact that teams in the top 10 went the other way and we're just like, okay, we'll just take care of this so we don't have to feel the need to draft Love, as opposed to saying, oh well, if Washington's going to get him at 7, let me get to 6. Like if it was that much value, that's where the thought process would be, instead of, okay, I'll just pay Ken Walker instead. um So Love, I think, is a very good player. He's here in my top 16 because I love all these guys in the top 16. But I'm not gonna value a running back the same way I'm gonna value an offensive tackle or a wide receiver.
Let's turn it into your next eight. And of course, we're talking about some of your risers and fallers as kind of more of the direction here. But I'm actually going to pick a guy who is largely stuck here, and that's Kenyon Sadiq. I feel like people have gotten a little quiet on him as well, and I don't know if that means that they're really interested in him or they don't want to say so, or if that just means the interest has died down. But Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon.
Kenyon Sadiq is interesting because I do think he's a very talented player, and obviously the athleticism from the combine was off the charts. I just think he's a very specific player, like where he would be a best fit. Now, do NFL teams always think that way? About like, can we use this guy optimally? No, they're thinking, can we make a splashy play that might add something to us and we'll sort it out. We'll figure it out later. Yeah, that's the way they're thinking. So he could go higher, especially in a draft like this, and especially with those freaky athletic numbers. And for those numbers and for the like strange and kind of specific build I see him in, like he is a good blocker. This is normally all concerns you say about a receiving tight end that can't block. He can block and he tries, but he's 6'3", 240, so he's like a weird H-back kind of size, but he will block, but he's not like the most refined route runner, but he's super athletic. So it's just the like specificity for me makes it harder to then translate him to multiple boards. So I think we talked about this on your 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Which player was it? Um, David Bailey, right? David Bailey, where it was like some
Yeah,
teams are going to really value him even if he's just a designated pass rusher, and some teams are going to completely take him off their board. I think there's a few specific teams that Sadiq is like their optimal first round pick because he would so perfectly fit what they need. But then I think there are lots of other teams that would just be like, I don't really know what to do with him, so he's not going to
right.
provide much value for us. I like Sadiq as a player, but he's a unique kind of player.
I want to talk about this player. I'm going to bring up a second name. You're welcome to hit him if you want in the top eight or this eight if you want. But Akeem Mesidor out of Miami is a player that was not in your 32 last time, wasn't in mine either, but has moved up both our boards. You've got him higher, but there are people that have him this high. So talk about him, what you like about his game.
He's violent, like extremely, extremely violent. Like he wants to inflict pain, and I don't even want it to be pain because it's not like he's a dirty player or anything like. He wants his presence known on every play, no matter what's
Yeah,
happening. The play could be happening on the other side of the field, and you know what? He's gonna get one more lick in on the offensive line. You're gonna feel him every single play, um, and that applies to everything. If he's filling a run lane, if he's rushing the quarterback, if he is disengaging a block to get to a back that already went by him, um, you're gonna feel him. He's gonna chop your hands down with a vicious two hand move, and he's gonna turn around and he is gonna hit whoever he can. So I love the mentality, right? And he plays through the whistle. He chases down every play, um, and everything he does is with so much effort and strength. And there's not a ton of moves, but he's not just like this power rusher that just wants to long arm you and try to push you into the pocket. He's got real good hand use, real strong, heavy hands. Very sudden player, even if he's not like super bendy or super speedy, but that squatty body, low ground, low leverage. Um, I think he's just a really useful player, especially in today's day and age. And if he just continues to add moves and like add nuances to his game, even being a little bit older, I think he could be a really special player.
before we move off of this eight, is there anybody else in that eight that you want to tell us about?
Omar Cooper Jr. is a recent ad for me. I think he's just a really good route runner, really good separator, like really nuanced route runner, especially at the top of his routes. I think he just knows exactly. I know where my route needs to be. I know what I need to do, and when I get there, it's like the Matrix. I could see like three ways that I should get to my next spot, and depending on what the defender is doing, I know what I need to do off of that. And I think he's just going to be a really, really nice player that, depending on how good the offense is around him, where he goes, like his ceiling could be even higher. He could be an extremely productive player, or even just an extremely useful player for a team that's like, we just need someone to come in and run the right routes and like get open and make catches when we really need him to. So I think there's a good, a positive, wide range of outcomes for Omar Cooper Jr.
Next eight players, the last eight for your big board. I know I mentioned this player the last time we did this, but you and I each are used to, probably me more, definitely me more, standing on an island on a player and, sticking to it. We usually not on an island about the same player versus everybody else, but with Jacoby Lane, you and I are. I mean, it's been consistent now through the football season, through the bowl season, through the combine season. Lane is not people look down on him, but Lane is back in the mix by far. You and I have continued to hold him up as a first round consideration, So talk to me about what you like about Jacoby Lane and why people should at least be thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, he and I so I think he's a typical big body X receiver where I think he runs nice routes. I think he's got good hands. I think, like I said, big body guy. And I think the knock on him is like physicality. Like he doesn't always play to his size in terms of being overly physical. But my response to that is I think he's a slightly better route runner than that archetype would necessarily dictate, right? Being 6'3", 6'4", I think he's a better route runner. Maybe not the best separator, but a better route runner. So when you compare him to a guy like Denzel Boston, I think he does get a little bit more separation, does get in and out of his breaks a little bit better. Um, when you think about a guy like if we went with a different style, but a guy in this kind of range, Casey Concepcion, like I think he's just a more solid all around built player. And maybe, I haven't watched a ton of the other like true day two wide receivers yet. And maybe when I do get to them, maybe I'll see like, okay, Lane's kind of more in line with those guys. But watching Lane, I got the same feeling I got last year in watching Jaden Higgins. And I just love Jaden Higgins because Lane still blocks, even if he's not quite as strong as Higgins. He just does all those things as a like big body backside X, like Romeo Dobbs, and he just got a good contract with the Patriots, had productive years with the Packers. That's the kind of player he reminds me of, just an extremely useful player. And you could look up and he's like actually the best receiver, or even maybe just the most important receiver for like a top five offense. I think that ceiling is actually there, even if he's never an all pro player.
Peter Woods, one of your bigger followers, but still in the 32. This was a guy back in the summer. People were touting top five and pretty hard on that top five. I like, that there wasn't a whole lot of question about it. Well, that quickly disintegrated along with some other Clemson players throughout the season. And even now, we kind of continue to see him hovering on the back end, of the 32. All of those opinions aside, what's for you, Woods, down here at the back end?
Yeah, so when we got to our defensive lineman in like November, I had watched some 2024 tape and then maybe one, maybe two games of 2025. And I actually did a small series on my YouTube channel. Actually, maybe it was on this one, where I just honed in on him and did a film room on Pierre Woods. And when he was in 2024, when he was at his best, and what made him kind of the consensus going into this year as the number one player, it's because he was 315 pounds, but had a quick first step. So I viewed him as this guy, and he a really good run defender in terms of diagnosing plays and filling the gaps. So I was like, somebody could draft him and make him a two gapper. Someone could draft him and make him a penetrator, and they'll have a good player either way. Now, to his credit, but unfortunately, I think what hurt him is he clearly slimmed down and lost weight in an effort to be even faster for 2025. And I noted that like right at that first 2025 game I watched. I forget what it was at this point. But then you continue to watch through the season, and I'm watching the Boston College game from like the middle of the year, and Boston College is pushing him around like he's getting washed out. That was not happening even close in the 2024 film. And then he goes to the combine and he weighs in at less than 300 pounds. I'm like, that's just not where this guy was at his best. the thing that was advantageous for him being bigger was he still had a quick first step, so he penetrates the line, and then you can't push him off of that. Now he penetrates, but like you could just push him off a spot. Now he's okay. He has to be a penetrator kind of deal, unless he's gonna get some weight back up. And I know the Clemson defense overall was up and down this year, so it might not have been on him. It might have been coaches asking him to slim down because they wanted him to be faster, and then that scheme didn't work, and that's why the whole defense kind of fell apart. Because I still think there's a good player in there, but it is moving based on the film and based on what he's doing with his body, which like I hate to say that. I hate to come up here and tell a professional athlete what they should be doing with anybody. I wouldn't say this to anybody what they should do with their body, but I think his ceiling and his best version of himself was being this bigger player that was really quick at over 300 pounds because there's not many people that do that.
That makes sense. That's a very good analysis. Probably one of the better ones I've heard on Peter Woods and that bit of a dip there. Okay, we've covered a lot of. We didn't cover all of your risers and fallers, but we have covered several of them. So, any last thoughts here on your big board?
Um, I just wanted to give a shout out to Caleb Banks. I've said this across a couple shows, and I know there's still some questions about character and motivations and stuff, but I left him off my top 32 last time solely because of the injury, right? And then because he's over 300 pounds, he's dealing with a foot injury. Like I don't like I just wrote him off at that point. But then he ends up playing at the end of the season. He came back during the season when like, dude, you're probably a first round pick in this draft regardless of it, and he plays. And then he goes to the Senior Bowl, participates. He goes to the combine, participates. Tests really well at the combine. I know he didn't do everything, and he was like, "Oh, my cleats made my feet hurt." Whatever. This guy is 23 or whatever. He's got agents in his ear. He's got coaches and friends and everybody in his ear. It's so hard to deal with the what are the motivations and what is he being told. That I'm like, this guy came back from a foot injury at 320 pounds and played. And I think that means something. So I think the 1-2 is there. Hope he gets in the right situation, but I was comfortable to get him into my top 32 this time because of that.
All right, Simon, we've enjoyed it, and we look forward to your next version of this as well. We've got a lot of stuff already posted, months worth of things posted on this channel, individual prospect profiles. We've got some video work. We've done mock drafts. We've got some funny things coming up, some game show type things that are actually pretty good conversation pieces all on there. So, Simon, before we sign off, anything else you want to mention about what they can find here on the network?
Just whatever flavor of draft content you guys are into, man, we've got it here. Like Ben said, game show style stuff, player profiles if you just want to get straight to the information, mocks, long form discussions, big boards from multiple people. If you're into the draft, like, subscribe, comment because you're gonna want to be here. And we have 3 to 5 shows coming out a week between now and the draft, so you will not be light on draft content if you're sticking with box score.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for being with us. We've got a bunch out, a bunch more coming, all the way up until the draft, and even a couple of weeks after the draft, we'll have the reaction things as well. This is the Box Score Network. Have a great one, and goodbye.